Morning, everyone. This is Charlotte and we're chatting in cars. This is a podcast where I pick out random topics for discussion. And I talk about them at length on the way to work or the way from work. I'm currently a teacher, hoping for something better, but I suppose we have to use what we've got. There's a disclaimer at the start of this podcast. I do swear. No, I'm not going to stop swearing. I'm sorry. Not really. If you don't like swearing, I suggest you switch it off, and that's absolutely up to you as an autonomous adult that can self-regulate, I hope. There's also a disclaimer because I talk about some really sensitive topics and some people just aren't ready for it yet. Okay, so that's not your problem, that's not your fault. If you're not ready for that, that's okay. But you can watch something else or listen to something else if you want, that's up to you. I suggest a lot of History Channel documentaries, I really like that. Anyway. The topic for today is, and I feel it very appropriate coming up to the school holidays because it's Friday and the school holidays start tomorrow, yeah. I'm going to sleep so fucking much and eat everything. How do you know you're over 30? What are your life goals? To sleep and to eat, for God's sake. Alright, so my topic for today is touring, and when I'm talking about touring, no, I'm not in a band, but I am talking about the kinds of holidays I go on. And I'm really got itchy feet lately. I've missed my holiday rhythm because of lockdown and COVID and all this extra crap. But usually I go on a UK tour. I live in Australia and it's a completely different lifestyle. It's okay if you like beaches and stuff. I did in my teens. I was pretty much a surfy chick in my teens. So like 16, 17, I was just down at the beach after school a lot. Probably why my skin's a bit shit now. Yeah, I don't tan well. Having measles one time causing that much scarification didn't help either. So it's not like I'm hideously disgusting, but I just don't tan very well. It goes through like a mottled colour. Weird. Anyway, enough about that. Touring. So when I go on holiday, most people in Australia go to like Bali and stuff because it's cheap and it's nearby, which is Indonesia area. It's just above us, past Darwin. I go home. I miss my home so much. And I wasn't born in the UK, but I was definitely raised English. I miss going and seeing all like the castles and things like that. My parents used to tell me stories about going up to Scotland and stuff. When my mum used to go up to Scotland in her school holidays with my granddad Fred. And they'd get something like 4 kids in the back and this tiny little car. And they just go up the mountains and that with all this shit packed on top of their car. And I love that because that sounds like an adventure to me. So when I finally got a chance to, and my first time I went over there I was 20, it was meant to be my 21st because that was our big thing. My granddad Bob, who was the master manipulator puppeteer, he wishes, but he was pretty horrible. Anyway, so here's the big thing was when you turn this age, I will take you over. It was some kind of power play with my parents, but at the same time, I'm like, yeah, free holiday, fuck yeah. Unfortunately, I had to spend it with him. Not very nice, and he's a creeper. Anyway, or was a creeper. Yeah, a lot of horrible stories about that in my teens to early 20s. Yeah, we're not going there today. That's a different podcast. And ladies, do protect yourself even from family members. So anyway, so I went over with him. And it was good because he took me all around like the East End and stuff like that, which is where my family came from, or at least my mum was first generation English. Before that, she is Irish all the way back from Galway. So it was good because later on I went to like Cliffs of Moher and stuff like that. But we started off the trip in London, so we had a look around the East End, and she comes from the Isle of Dogs, and my dad comes from like Mile End area, and they lived in Grays, which is a suburb I think of the East End. And it's good because you go around there and you see all the places like my granddad was sitting there pointing out, this is where I used to work and this is where your mother used to live and that's where this is where your uncle Ronnie and that, and he pointed out, and we used to know the Crays and all this shit, and he's sitting there going, oh okay, so we got a bit of a rich heritage there, okay, for the time period that we were in there. But it's pretty good. And he used to be a safety inspector on the London docks, so he used to get all the things that fell off of boats and trucks, which was the common currency in the area at the time, and it probably still is actually, to tell the truth. But I used to hear great big stories about my grandma, who was not his wife, but my mum's mum. She was the Irish Catholic one that married the Danish Protestant. And I used to hear stories about how she used to work on the docks, and she used to make her own bootleg moonshine and shit like that. And she used to nick stuff off the docks as well, because suddenly things became available. And she was one of the ones that used to do the barrels with the alcohol. So she became very, acclimatized to even nicking stuff, apparently, or making her own shit. And you made ends meet, because it was, working class kind of life. And it was really great. I used to love hearing all these stories about grandma getting up to shit, which is probably not set a good role model for me now, because I do tend to nick things. But it's communal things, and I won't get in trouble for it, I hope. But it was really great, and I love that kind of naughtiness to my heritage. Because as a person now, I'm pretty fucking straight-laced. But that's because of, where I came, like my immediate family's legacy. I saw a shitload of anti-role models that I just didn't want to be like. But one of the reasons my parents moved from the East End was to get away from sort of gang-related crime and shit like that. I'm sitting there going, my granddad used to know the fucking craze. I'm going, yeah, it's probably a good reason to leave. So probably, yeah, it's a good reason to come to Australia. And it seemed like a fair distance away. So maybe they could get a better life. So I just found that really interesting. And he used to take me around the old docks. So we went around on the train line you can go to. The old Docklands train line. I think it's still there. And you get to see all the history side of things. And it was brilliant. But on the top of that, we also went, we did all the generic tourist stuff, like, Stonehenge and all that. We went to go and see some family members that I just didn't know existed. And they lived in, the East End as well. We went to, I think it's called Maudie's or something. It's Pie and Mash shop. I don't know if it's still there, but it's great. If you ever want to try, pie and liquor and, pie and liquor and mash and that. Oh shit, that's a big speed bump. I'm sorry, we've got these great big sheets of metal covering giant potholes because they're doing construction, and a truck just went over one and it just lifted the metal sheet. I'm like, oh, please don't do that to my car, I'll fall in the hole, I'm tiny. That's a bit scary. Sorry, tangent. Anyway, I've had about 8 cups of coffee today and I'm fucking steaming. So what else? I went up to Scotland with him. I went to Ireland. No, I didn't. I did that later. Or did I? I can't remember. That was 2000 and... That would have been... I was 22 when I did that, because I had to save up for it. Oh, fuck. How old am I now? I don't know. My maths is off. It's Friday. But, if you can guesstimate, it was a while ago. I'm 37 now, so it's about 15 or so years ago. So... yeah, it was great. And then I went back again and again and again. I think I've done about 5 tours now, just on my own. I went back on my honeymoon with my ex-husband, and that was good because, we went all over. We didn't just stick to the England stuff. We went all over. We started off in London, went up to Scotland, went over to Ireland, went to Wales because his family came from Wales, Brecon area. That was nice, going through Snowdonia with the mountains and stuff. I love those. The mountain tours are brilliant. We went to Edinburgh and saw snow for the first time. Fucking love Edinburgh. That's the most, fairy tale kind of gothic city. I love going places like that. It's like, there's fucking history there, and the witch burnings happen there, because you look around and you go, yeah, I could actually imagine that happening here. So if you've got a chance to go to Edinburgh, definitely go. We stayed in down the street essentially from the castle, which is Lothian, Mid-Lothian or something like that. It was in the city, but it was still, out of the way. We were stuck to the cheaper bits because, you don't spend a ridiculous amount of money for just an overnight thing. You're looking to get, out and about during the day. So we didn't really invest much money in hotels and stuff like that. We always went on the cheap. A lot of B&Bs. Some of those were pretty risky, actually. Pretty risque. You're sitting there, you're in a 2-bedroom house with a bunch of Romanians going, I don't remember this being on, booking.com, but here we are. Pass the marmalade. Who the fuck are you? I don't know. They're touching my feet. It's creeping me out. there's a lot of B&Bs that are a bit odd, and the pictures don't match the property, unless we obviously just walked into someone's house and said, well, this looks about right. Just took over. That was a bit odd. But, you know, we did it on the cheap because we were just young kids. I say young kids, we were 27 at the time. We took, you know, we had the option to have this big expensive wedding or a big, you know, expensive honeymoon. And I say expensive for what we had at the time. And we said, look, we'll just do a council wedding. And nobody fucking came because we didn't want them to anyway. It was just me, him, his brother and my sister to witness. And that was it. And he went back to work afterwards, and I went for cocktails with my sister afterwards. So, you know, it wasn't much. Not that he held much weight with marriage or weddings or anything like that. He didn't believe in them that much, which I found out, you know, 6 years after we were married. A bit later for that, mate. So, yeah, so I was like, oh, cool, let's get married after 10 years. Yeah. So we spent all our money on the honeymoon. We went to Singapore before then. We spent a week there at Singapore and went to Sentosa, which was a big amusement park island, essentially. I'm not a fan of roller coasters and shit. I hate them, to be honest. I went for like the butterfly house and stuff like that. I like looking at museums and nice, you know, calm shit. But he was like, we're going on the roller coasters. I was like, I don't want to. I really fucking don't want to, but I'll do it because I know you want to. So that was, you know, a week before actually touring the UK. Started off in London, South Harrow. That was right next to a police station, actually, funny enough. That was nice. That was like the safest, I would assume it's a hotel, I guess. Right next door to a police station, South Harrow. That was our hotel. Run by very nice, I would assume, Asian people, Pakistani, maybe Indian. Very nice people. I thoroughly recommend. If you can find that hotel, go for that one. Very clean. Cannot recommend enough. So that's where we started, and then we went off to, you know, we went up Scotland, and yeah, it was getting used to the tube as well. Because in Australia, where we are in Perth, there's no real big tube. There's no network system. Our whole train line is one main long line with maybe like a branch coming off each end. It's not huge. You're not going to get lost. It's relatively new. We're still trying to join up, you know, like Joondalup to Perth. It's like we're still trying to get that done, which is, you know, just the other side of Perth. So it's pretty easy. But when we go to the UK, it was like London, the tube is crazy confusing for me, and so we had to get this map, and we're constantly referring to it just to try to get around, just go and see things like London Dungeon and stuff. After that, we did a road trip. Most of our trip was a road trip. I fucking love road trips. You load up on snacks and you just go. I've done subsequent road trips after that, actually, but this was our main one. This was our taste dump. So we went up to Scotland, Perth, Ben Nevis, up north, Fort William sort of area. Never got to John O'Groats. I did that later on a single tour when I was travelling alone. That was cool. I weirded people out doing that, because I was sitting there and it was freezing cold and I was eating ice cream in a summer dress, and I'm like, I am in denial that it is wintry here. I'm just not doing this. I'm eating the ice cream and we're all going to pretend it's still summer. That was, yeah, but it's lovely, John O'Groats. I didn't realise it was attached to sort of like a caravan park kind of area, unless I went to the wrong bit. It was meant to be a beach or something. There's a lot of rocks. It's a big coal, like a car park. It's a bit underwhelming. I don't know. So I thoroughly suggest that tour. We went to North Scotland. We came back down through Wales to Brecon. We went over to Ireland. I remember, not Northern Ireland, because I'm terrified of them hearing my accent over there. I don't know what the fuck's going to happen. I know they're not happy, because we went to Dublin. I went to Dublin one time with my mum, and this crazy Irish woman was like getting real pissed off about, I think she heard us talking or something like that, and my mum's got a Cockney accent. My younger sister's got an Australian accent. This is one of the tours I went on. And I've got pretty much my mum's accent. Sometimes it goes in and out of my grandma's accent, which is Gaelic. Not Gaelic, but, you know, Galway. But she must have overheard us, because as soon as she heard that accent, she started piping up about the Irish or being oppressed and shit like that. From, you know, passive-aggressively to the side and stuff. And the barman behind the bar was sitting going, shut the fuck up, sort of thing. But she was kicking off. And I remember there was Home and Away playing on the TV, and I'm sitting there going, oh, look, that's where we're from. Oh, look, Australia, just like home. They have that here. So I'm sitting there going, please don't get into a bar fight in fucking Dublin. I don't want to do this today. But obviously my mum was getting pissed off, and I'm like, fuck off, woman. We're from fucking Galway. What the fuck? Just because we got English accents this time. You know, it's like some people just going out looking for a fucking fight for no reason. You don't know the background of the person. Why would you start saying mouthy shit like that? And the bar guy behind the bar is just getting more and more embarrassed. I'm like, I feel you, dude. Fuck it. Crazy bitch. Anyway. So, yeah. So I'm first generation Australian. Second generation English. And before that, it's Galway all the way, baby. I even think my nanny's family came from fucking Dublin or Derry or somewhere like that, because she was Roberts. But you know, it's just some people just need their fucking mouth closed, you know? Just grow up. Stop trying to start a fight. And I know all about the Irish troubles and all that shit, because that's the culture I had to be raised in, you know. You know both sides of the coin, you know your English heritage, you know your Irish heritage, you know both sides of the coin. I mean, my Catholic grandma married my Protestant granddad. I know the stories. I've been entrenched in them. I did history units on them. I know all the political side of things and that. So when you get some mouthy cunt like that standing up and saying, I'm going to open old wounds, I just get pissed off. I'm like, just stop. Because it's this shit that kept the fights going for this long. Always tit for tat bullshit. Just stop. Enough of that. If anything, we just make it one big island. Who fucking cares? No one fucking cares anymore. The only people that care are the people that are profiteering from the segregation. Stop. Who cares anymore? We're all cousins. We're all into bread. Everybody moved around so much that we're all fucking related anyway. Who cares? Just going too far. Xenophobic attitudes. I fucking hate it. It's enough. Anyway, don't get me started on that. Anyway, just don't. So I've had both sides of the coin there. We came down through Ireland. We left at, we came through Holyhead, I think it was, or Stranraer. But we came to northern, like the tip, like Belfast. We came through Belfast. Or we left through Belfast. It was one of those. We came through Dublin or left through Belfast or something like that. We went down through the Regencarry and all that, through Galway, because I wanted to go see Cliffs Moor and stuff like that. Thoroughly recommend. It's expensive to get in. For some reason it costs to park your car, but you know, I don't know why. It's a fucking cliff. If you go from a different angle, you can go and see it anyway. That was great, because they've developed it since the Cliffs of Moher. Before, when I went, it was just a cliff. But now they've got like a discovery centre and a gift shop, and you can have a cafe, you know, coffee and shit like that. And there's walks and tours and things like that. I'm going, it's only been, 6 years between visits. And they've done all this extra stuff. I'm wondering who instigated that, because it was a good idea, I think. And they've scaffolded the cliff as well, so it's not so much a problem as eroding that. And I like that, because it's preservation as well. We went through the Dublin Viking Centre, amazing. They've got a waxworks there in Dublin near not near the zoo, which we did go to, near it's a museum. It's like a botanical museum, but there's a waxworks as well. And that was good, because it shows you like the history of Dublin and stuff like that. Very recommendable. We went we must have gone through Holyhead, because we went through Wales to the Brecon, and then we back down through England through Salisbury and Stonehenge and all that Exeter area, and back through to London. So that was my first honeymoon tour. After that, I've done something like four more tours. Just missed it because I missed bits, because I had my ex-husband with me at the time. I didn't get to see anything. I saw some things, but I got a taster for it, and you go back to the other time just on your own, and you can, you know, find bits that you were more interested in. There was a lot of shit we just did that was just generic tourist stuff. This time, you know, I think I went back with my sister one time, and we did all the big houses, all the mansions. If you go through English Heritage, which I love signing up to, is English Heritage, Royal Palaces, and National Trust. They give you a yearly pass. It costs something like £50, which is like $100 in Australian. But you get to go in every fucking property they have, and there are hundreds, and it's free. Well, I say free. It's covered under the cost. So you never get to all those properties, but they're all sort of heritage listed. And there's always like an orangery with like a cream tea and stuff like that. So you're well covered if you want. If you want to go on a car tour, we were doing 2 and 3 houses a day when my sister and I went on tour. It was brilliant. And if you're into Austen like I am, you know, like Jane Austen, Sense and Sensibility kind of stuff, you get to see where all of them are filmed and stuff like that. And I fucking love periodic dramas, so I was well happy. You know, Pride and Prejudice, even the new movies were filmed in a shitload of places like Chatsworth and stuff like that. It was brilliant because you're like, oh, I remember this scene from the movie. Oh my god! So I thoroughly recommend if you're into that Jane Austen stuff. I'm an Austophile. Yes, I love me some Elizabeth Bennet. I do. She's a badass. I love that woman. Anyway, Mr. Darcy, though, I have questions about. Yeah, I'm not too keen on that. I feel he's just like emotionally unavailable shit. But you know, get me some Bingley. I like that guy. Anyway, so I don't know. Maybe I'm just, you know, traumatized from shitty relationships. But no, it was good. I did that with my sister, and we went around London. We had tea at the Ritz, a high tea, and that was pretty fancy. I like that with all the. If you can, I mean, even if just to say you've done it, that's great. I booked that from over here actually, and I just grabbed my sister and we went. That was nice, and she took me through like Harrods and that. And I'm sitting going, oh look, it's that. Harrods is it's big, but I don't think much of it, I have to say. And I'm looking at the prices and stuff like that. It's probably me growing up in poverty going, oh Jesus, I can make that home for nothing, you know? Goodness gracious me, yeah? It's like, I can make it home for nothing. I'm with you, woman. I agree. I can make this at home. But I'm looking at the stuff they're selling and stuff, and I'm going, oh yeah, it's just like a Myers, except more expensive. And I'm going, didn't interest me much. And we went up the Bond Street to have a look at all the rich people clothes and stuff like that and have a laugh. Because as much money as you got, those people say I've got fucking taste. But you know, that's part of the joke really, isn't it? You go to see the gimmickry of it. And it's like, oh yes, all this money. And we went to, I think it's at the bottom of Harrods is like a Tiffany's or something like that, where you get to go see all the fancy jewellery. And to me, that was more like looking in a museum, because I'm like, oh yeah. Because you can go to the museums in London and they have all like extra jewellery and stuff that rich people have like donated as heirlooms and stuff like that, which was pretty interesting to look at. I maintain the clothes in those shops are not very good. I don't like the look of them. They might be very expensive, but they're shit. Got no fucking taste. You got too much money, so you bought all the good stuff, and now you're just willing to buy all the shit stuff because you know it's more, right? I don't know. We went Harrods. We went. What's that? Fortnum Mason. I had a look in there. Yeah. It was like, yeah. It's more of the same shit. Yeah. Okay. Do you want any of it? Not really. I went for like weird stuff. If there was something in there that I hadn't seen before, I went and bought it. So it was just weird food mainly. I like weird food. I went in Marks and Spencer's. I fucking love Marks and Spencer's for the Percy pigs, the veggie Percy pigs, of course, because the other ones have got dead pieces of animal in them. But you go veggie and the Collinses. This is my holiday. My holiday is based on big fancy houses, history, and food. that is my ideal holiday. Do you want to go snorkeling? No. That sounds like I'm gonna get eaten or drown. That doesn't sound appealing at all. Museums, art galleries, food, sleep. Love it. Such a fucking hobbit. Yeah, we went all these fancy fucking places. I did Buckingham Palace quite a few times actually, because you can go right in. You can't go right in. You got to buy a ticket, but you get that. I think you can go through palaces. You remember I told you about the palace passes? I think it's one of them. Hampton Court's palace pass thing. Went there as well. Buckingham Palace is quite nice. I'd do it in roller skates or a Segway or something though. It's huge. All these open areas just for rolling, you know. Get your skates on, get some, you know, like rollerblades and shit. Where are you going? I'm going to the kitchen. Shoo! 10 minutes later, you're down the aisle. You need like a travelator to get from one area to the other. He's running on the travelator. I've got to get to the fucking phone. I imagine the Queen used to do that, you know? It's just like, fucking Philip. Where are you? I've fallen. Oh, for fuck's sake. Where are you? Put your location on your phone. Turn it on. Come on to this fucking place. But that's me as well, because I always get lost in like the gardens. We're going to these big houses with these massive gardens out the back, you know, and they're all manicured, these topiaries and giant crafted chickens out of hedges and shit. And I go wandering, and I'd be doing my Elizabeth Bennet thing out in the midst, you know, like with my music on, and I'm like, oh, isn't it so ethereal and shit like that. And I'd get lost, and they'd be coming close to closing time, and they'd have to come get me. So the park ranger or whatever it is like, you got lost again doing another Austin, didn't you? It's like, I fucking did. Come get me, Mr. Darcy. That's what it is. I think in the movie, Elizabeth Bennet just got lost doing what I usually do. Because I got no sense of spatial awareness or anything like that. I have no sense of direction. I get lost in people's backyards. And, you know, I think that's what it is. You see Mr. Darcy coming up from the distance with his cape or whatever it is, and he's like, I've come to rescue you. Thank God, because I've got no tom-tom. You know, I think that's what it is. He's so romantic. Oh no, that's the real romance. Save me from my own stupidity. It's not about currency anymore. I just keep getting lost in people's backyards. But no, I thoroughly recommend all the big houses and the National Trust Pass, because there is a good organisation as well, English Heritage National Trust, because they keep the buildings going as well, and that is my history, or our history, if you're from England, UK. Yeah, it's a lot of good stuff. I'm waiting to see, like, now that Charles is king or whatever, and I mean whatever, I want to see how many of the big houses he owns that get open up to tourists, because Buckingham Palace is already open. KP is open, Kensington Palace. Very nice. Although, I went and looked at all Diana's dresses and stuff like that, and I kind of wish you could touch them as well, but I suppose you wouldn't be able to because you'd damage them. I went and saw her garden. They did a memorial garden, and I haven't seen the statue with her and the 3 kids yet, but I'm going to go back sooner or later, hopefully, and have a look at that. Because I love Diana, I did. I was sad when she went. I lost it when she died, and I was only 12 when it happened, so you know, it wasn't good for me. She was more mum to me than my actual mum was, the mum I was given, you know. So yeah, so I was affected by that. So I did this. The last tour I went on, which was 2018, which is the same, yeah, I went on a royal tour. This was my escape tour. This was the year when my life fell apart. So I went to Invictus over East, around about 2018, which I think was Invictus over East in Sydney for Harry's thing. And then same year, I went to the UK, and I just did a royal tour, and I went to all the big houses. The only place I couldn't get to was Castle May, because by the time I got there it was closed, and I'm like, oh, for fuck's sake, I've driven all this way up through fucking Scotland and shit. Scary, through the mountains in the fog. Yeah, never done that before. But by the time I got there, it was closed. Or they barricaded it off because it was renovating or something like that. But I went and did a few other places in the area, John O'Groats as well. So I was pretty chuffed about that. Not a waste of a trip, but I wish I had seen Castle May, because I'd also seen like Osborne House and that. And that was really nice. It's a weird contrast in housing type over there, because they were going for some kind of Mediterranean house, I think. But it's on the Isle of Wight, and it's, what the fuck? It doesn't fit. It's weird. There's a lot of terracotta running around there, I expect. But, you know, what the fuck? But I thoroughly recommend. I'm nearly at work now. I'm sorry, I'm just dribbling. I've only got about 10 minutes till I get there. So, the next holiday I want to go on is basically the same tour. I might replicate one of my old tours, because I kept like scrapbooks of the tour and all the receipts and all the brochures and things like that. Just as like a souvenir. I went to Highgrove at one point, which is Charles's old house. I've done twice now, actually, in Tetbury. I went there twice. The first time I went to Spencer House in London. I went to Althorpe, where Diana's brother lives. I've been there 2 or 3 times, actually. Went to go see Diana's grave. Yeah, it's on an island. You can't get to it, yeah. I still think she's been put on show, though. I'm not happy with the way they've done that, but, you know, I suppose that's up to them, really, isn't it? But no, it's great. I'm looking forward to going back. I'll redo one of my old tours, because I love just bumming around, and the timing was right. I mean, when you do it once, you can work out the kinks. You can see which bits didn't work. Gretna Green is not what I expected it to be. It's on a hill. I expected it to be like a city or something. but it's not. It's just a little hill with the, and they're not allowed. And they told me we're not allowed to serve you alcohol before 10. I'm sitting there going, and I had one of these little gimmicky souvenir tourist little bottles of alcohol. It's about the size of your thumb. It's not drinkable, you know. It's just a little toy thing. Not that you give it to a child, but we can't sell you that until after 10. And it was something like 9:50 in the morning. I'm going, are you fucking serious? I'll come back in 10 minutes, shall I? And in the end, I just went, fuck it, give me the anvil. These little toy anvils and stuff like that, because I wanted a souvenir. Because in Austin, it's like, oh, we're running away to Gretna Green to get married. And I'm like, oh, that's so romantic. Oh. And then you get there, it's like, oh, it's a hill. Okay. Really? Because before all the gift shop and everything, I'm just imagining these people just run up a hill and there was like a priest automatically sitting there, as you do. And he's like, all right, you're married now. You're, hey, shit, we're going to be in poverty for the rest of our lives because our families don't accept us. That's kind of what happened to my grandma, actually, because she came from Catholic money. And I'm like, you married a Protestant broke guy, didn't you? Like, yeah. But you loved him. Oh, okay. All right. I can see that. But no, I love love stories. I'm a romantic. I'm terrible that way, though, because I get too caught up in the emotions. And I have trouble seeing the logic in the situations. Like, yes, I love him, but you're going to be broke for the rest of your life. It's like, yeah. That's bad, I guess. And that's how I ended up with my ex-husband, who also is not monogamous. Anyway, yeah, I get too caught up in the feelings of things. Anyway, definitely worth going and seeing Gretna Green, just to say you've been there, right? I don't know. I'm definitely going to get my National Trust pass and my English Heritage pass and my Palaces pass next time I go over there. And I want to get my house first, and then I'm going to start saving up for a tour again. Because I miss it. I'm getting my itchy feet. I'm what year is it? 2018? I went, and then I was something like 3 years late, or something like that. I was supposed to go 2020, every 2 years roughly. And now it's 2022. So I'm late, and I feel it. Got my gypsy heritage making me, you know, want to travel. And I really get stagnant. I don't like it. But I need to save up for my apartment first. If I get the apartment, then at least I'm not wasting my rent. And that goes straight into the mortgage, and I've got a roof over my head waiting for me when I get back from my touring. So yeah, logic. I'm trying to be more logical now. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I usually go through Singapore Airlines. It's pretty clean and neat, and a nice people. Beautiful air hostess. I don't know what they do with their figures, but wow. So I don't know what they do. Or whether it's just like the outfits they wear. I'm very jealous. I went to, what's that yellow one? Brunei one time. That was all right too. I don't like going through Arab Emirates. I'm worried about landing in Doha and stuff like that as a girl. But that's me. I'm just like, I don't know what's going to happen there. I'm just not going to do it. But I know if I go through like Singapore Changi, it's all right. It's a big airport, but you know, I thoroughly recommend that airline. But yeah, don't bother taking on any liquids or anything in your suitcase. Just buy it when you get back to the UK. That was a mistake I learned the first time. I've learned to very well compact everything I need to travel with. So you learn very well after a while. But yeah, definitely itchy foot. I'm just pulling up to my school, so I'm going to have to leave it there. I'm hoping you have some kind of fantastic holiday coming up for yourself if you can. If you can't, do what I do and Google Earth a shitload of stuff, because you just want to pretend you're not here. Anyway, I miss home. I really miss home. I miss my people, my land. I miss my culture. It's different out here in Australia. It's not the same. It's not entirely bad, but it's not home. It's not home. So I hope you have a great day. It's Friday. I'm definitely going to do another podcast on the way home. Hopefully, if I remember, if I've got the energy after today. Take it easy. Go get a coffee. This is the last day of the week. We're going to be okay. Okay? I'll see you later.